Welcome back. In Commitment 2024, President Biden is in New Hampshire this afternoon, making his third visit to the Granite State since he took office.
The visit comes after his notable absence from the first-in-the-nation New Hampshire primary in January. Joining us now is John Lappy, political science professor at Plymouth State. And John, we want to thank you for being here, and we want to get right into the questions. It's been nearly 50 days since the primary where Biden won in the write-in effort. Why come to New Hampshire now after seemingly writing us off in the primary process?
Well, the president had no choice but to skip the state in the primary process. If he participated in our, from the DNC's point of view, unauthorized primary, he would have ruined the entire point of his putting South Carolina ahead of us in the calendar. But this is the start of the general election campaign. We are a swing state, and this is a state where, because of skipping us in the primaries and putting South Carolina ahead of us, the president has some fences to mend. Particularly with the Democratic Party leadership in this state, which, despite being spurned by the president, really did him a favor by organizing that write-in campaign that enabled him to win this state handily and avoid any embarrassing headlines.
So some are calling this trip a bit of a peace offering from the president to New Hampshire Democrats after skipping that primary. But he won the primary here without acknowledging New Hampshire Democrats. So why would he feel he owes them an apology? His strategy here actually worked.
Well, his strategy worked in this state, but again, we're heading into a general election campaign. This is a swing state. The president won by a decent margin here back in 2020, but back in 2016, Hillary Clinton barely won this state. This is a state that Donald Trump is capable of winning in the general election. And, the president can't afford right now to have the Democratic organization in this state or Democratic Party voters in this state feeling like he doesn't care or isn't concerned with them. So he does have some fences to mend. It is doable. He is doing better here right now than in the other swing states, according to what little polling is available. But, we only have 4 electoral college votes, but they could go either way. And just ask Al Gore. Sometimes that's all that matters is those 4 votes.
Yeah, and turning to the general election, a new ABC News Ipsos poll shows 36% of Americans trust former President Trump to do a better job leading the country compared to 33% for President Biden, and 72% of Americans view both candidates unfavorably. So what kind of impact do you think Americans' attitudes about this possible rematch can have on the race?
Yeah, this is not the matchup that most Americans actually want. The average American doesn't want either Donald Trump or Joe Biden to be taking the oath of office next January. And it's fair to wonder whether or not our primary system in this country is the best when it's routinely putting up unpopular candidates, as it has for the last several cycles. But I think in the upcoming general election is going to be the kind of election, kind of like 2016, where you just did not want the spotlight to actually be on you. In 2016, we found that when the spotlight was on Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump's numbers went up. When the spotlight was on Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton's numbers went up. So this is the kind of election where when both candidates are unpopular, you want swing voters to be thinking how much they don't want the other person to be president. You don't want them thinking about you. You want them thinking about the other guy. That was Joe Biden's strategy in 2020, and it worked. It's harder to pull off after 4 years of a Biden presidency. But this is the kind of election it's going to be, where if you're Joe Biden, you want that spotlight on Donald Trump. If you're Donald Trump, you want that spotlight, or you should want that spotlight on Joe Biden. And if there's hope for the Biden camp, which isn't looking too good right now, it's that Trump will be entering the spotlight more now the general election campaign has begun. And, well, as history shows us, Donald Trump is very bad at avoiding the spotlight.
All right, interesting stuff there. John Lappy from Plymouth State University. Thank you.
Thank you.